going on, everyone? Welcome to the Elevating Your Potential podcast, where we enlighten middle school and high school student athletes about the realities of college sports. We have a very, very special guest, my sister here, Miss Lexi Roberson. But while she's doing all her, this is how it's going to be the whole podcast, everyone. So just be ready for it. Before we get into it, I have to give you a little bio. Lexi is a former student athlete at Legacy High School, which was formerly known as Robert E. Lee High School in Tyler, Texas. While at Legacy, she was on the all-academic team as a junior and senior and received all district honors in volleyball as a senior. After graduating, Lexi went on to play collegiately at Richton College, where she was 8th in the conference in solo and total blocks as a middle blocker. Yes. Your husband kind of gave me that info, but you know. And she was on an all-conference team as a freshman and was an all-conference academic selection. After playing at Richland, Lexi decided to stop playing volleyball and focus on school and attend the University of North Texas. We don't have any judgment towards her for that at all. Pony up. And now she's happily married, graduated with her bachelor's, and pursuing her master's degree in business administration at North Texas as well. So we're very excited to have you on, Lexi. How are you doing today?
Oh, I am excited. Super excited.
We're so excited to have you on. And everyone, I keep calling her Lexi, so we're casual here on the podcast. Yes. So that's what we're going to call her today. Yes. So starting out, Lexi, how did you get involved in sports?
Getting involved in sports, like everybody, it started in the Pop Warner days. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure I was in first grade, and it started with cheerleading.
Okay.
A long time I did not realize was a sport, but cheerleading was my heart and soul for the longest. And as I got older, I think I stopped cheering when I was 15. Cheering when I was 15. So that was my sport for a very, very long time. But that's how I got involved. I noticed, because I heard it all the time from coaches and things like that I was built different.
Okay.
In cheer, you have to jump, you have to I was a base, I was strong and things like that. I had thicker legs, but I realized that I jumped significantly higher than others on the team, from Pop Warner all the way through middle school. And when it came to like the big stunts, the big basket tosses and things like that, my coaches made sure that I was one of the bases for it. Leg power, like you throw a whole entire girl into the air. Yes. And I didn't realize it for the longest that I had the leg power to do it. So that's how the athleticism started. And then in middle school was the first time I got introduced to volleyball, basketball, and track. So,
and so how long did you play those three sports?
I did volleyball. Started from 7th grade. They allow you to compete. So 7th grade, 12, 13, all the way up until I was 20.
Okay.
That was my sport. Basketball. Listen, my athletic abilities did not work in basketball.
Okay.
I played, in middle school, I was like B team galore. Definitely B team. And then my freshman year, I also played basketball, but they only had one team. So I had no choice but to be A team. Freshman year was not good. And then track, I did not enjoy track, but I was great at the events.
Okay.
So since I didn't enjoy it, I did it 7th grade and 8th grade, and that was it.
I definitely hear the track beat. I did not like track at all myself.
Oh.
And so when you started in junior high, you stopped playing, you stopped cheering, and you went just to those three sports.
No. Okay. So in junior high, because like I said, up until I was 15, cheering was my number one thing. So in junior high, I also cheered. So volleyball, basketball, track, but cheer was first for me. In my middle school cheer team, we competed like we were a club cheer team. Our coach had that experience. She brought in outside people to train us, just all the things. We traveled for competitions, national champions, things like that. So cheer was number one. And I just played volleyball, basketball, and track because it was the thing to do in 7th and 8th grade.
Right.
So
when did you switch over to volleyball being your primary?
freshman year.
Okay.
After 8th grade, I decided not to pursue cheer in high school because I saw that our high school's cheer team was not competitive. They were more showy. You know, you curl your hair, you look cute, and you rah. That's about it. They were not hard competitors, jumping as high as you can, like perfecting those type of things. So I decided not to pursue cheer going into my freshman year. And volleyball, that's what I decided to do. That's when I really figured out, okay, volleyball is it. Like that was my sport. And then I thought I liked basketball. So that's when I decided to try basketball after volleyball season.
Right.
Quickly learned it was not it.
Gotcha.
I couldn't quit in the middle of the season because my dad would not allow it.
Oh, yes. My dad would have told me the exact same thing. You got to finish. You don't have to keep going, but you have to finish. And so it seems like you've always had the competitive nature and competitive spirit about you, especially for you turning from what you thought was cheer. And then you're like, no, that's not enough for me. Let me go over here to volleyball. So were you instantly good at volleyball when you first started, or did it take some time for you to develop?
So like I mentioned, I was built differently. I had a different athleticism. And let me pause and say this. This is probably the most I've talked about myself since
keep going. No, you're good.
I stopped playing. So it's like a little odd for me to kind of recognize that I was good. Like I was just an athlete, a natural.
Well, your husband tells me all the time that you were.
You know, he don't mind boosting somebody.
Right. He does not at all, which is what I love about him.
Same. So I was a natural athlete. I could jump high. I could jump very high. I had fast twitch muscles, which I didn't learn that's what they were called until college, but I had fast twitch muscles. So of course I didn't have all the skills, but I picked up on the skills faster than most. So
how did you do that? So let's talk to the student athletes right now that are listening, that are in high school, or they might be in junior high making that transition. What did you do to pick up those skills? Was it just practice, or did you do anything outside? What did you do?
So I should say this, I did not grow up with all of the resources that probably were available. I didn't know club volleyball was a thing, or else I would have joined so much sooner. So I didn't have, my family didn't have the available resources for me to train outside of school. But when I was at school and that was our training time, I took it seriously. I'm a goofy person at heart, yes, but you get me out there for practice and stuff. I may smile here and there. I may crack a joke or two if we're having a good practice. But other than that, okay, coach, what's next?
And I think that's so important, because somebody needs to hear that you might not have all the resources available. You might not know what next steps you need to take, but with what you do have, like let's just talking about in that moment when you're at school, that needs to be your primary focus. Is there anything else you want to hit on when it came to that?
Yes. Another thing is, not only in actual volleyball practice did I take it seriously, but we also had workouts. That was my first introduction to the weight room, to running to build your stamina and other things like that. I took it seriously, especially in the weight room. That's another time that I learned, I built different. I have a little more muscle than most girls on the team. When I tell you, I took it the extra mile. So, the coaches would say, okay, ladies, you're going to do your squats and you're going to put a 10 on each side of the bar. And you're going to squat that. I realized that wasn't challenging me. So I took the initiative to ask the coach, is it okay if whenever I do whichever ones I need to do, I up the weights? And of course the coach is like, why would you go? Yeah, do it. Don't even ask. But I didn't. That's my first introduction to a weight room. I didn't really know how to proceed. So that was another thing for me too. Was taking the workouts really seriously.
What benefits did you see from like you weren't satisfied with saying that you were these 10 in the 5 play on pay. You put it on. So what benefits did you see both on and off the court that you gained from doing that and challenging yourself more?
So on the court, just even pause, off the court in the weight room, I noticed that like around me, they would notice and be like, oh, Alexa's trying to be strong and things like that. Like, yeah, you could say that. But then I noticed a few weeks later, other people were trying to up their weights. It was kind of a domino effect that other people started taking the initiative to also push themselves further in the weight room when they felt like the current weight wasn't doing it for them. So that was big off the court, but that also builds the team competitive spirit.
Right.
Like you kind of compete with each other to work out, but it's all because we're all going to get better as a team to play outside teams.
Right.
On the court during games, it's the same thing. Because I took it seriously with practice in the weight room, I played how I practiced many, many times. I mean, I'm not perfect. There were a few times where I was just like, ooh. Now in practice, you could get that serve to the 6th spot. What are you doing today? Why is it hitting the net?
Right.
So, but for the most part, I played in games just like I practiced. I'm not cracking smiles. I'm still your friend, but I'm still a big team encourager. But game face is on. I'm taking it seriously. I'm helping you taking it seriously. All of the above. So
I like that. I like that a lot. So let's transition to your academics in high school. Oh, yeah. So enlighten us about your academic prowess.
Listen, I've always been good at school. Don't be like me, folks. I didn't try in high school, and I just I'm not proud.
Trust me, they learned earlier in a few episodes before that I did the same thing. I did just enough to get through.
And that's the thing. My just enough were still really good grades. But a piece of me feels like, man, if I would have taken it a tad bit more seriously in high school, how much further could I have known my study habits and myself in college?
That's a gem. That's a gem.
Yes. In college, you learn fast. What you did in high school ain't gonna work here. It doesn't.
So what did you learn about your study habits? 'Cause I'm sure in college you kind of had to figure that out, and you're getting your master's and stuff now. So what piece of advice would you give someone who's probably a student athlete who's struggling with their study habits in high school? What would you tell them that you learned through your journey?
One thing, it's hard to remember, but for me, it helped to know that academics came first when making that transition from high school to college. While yes, I was so grateful and blessed to have the opportunity to play sports, I knew I was there to get my associate's degree. I knew I was there to take classes, to do well in those classes, and go on to the next step. So that helped me a lot. And figuring out my study habits, now I ain't gonna hold you. I didn't figure it out until I got to the University of North Texas, and I wasn't playing anymore. Yeah.
But if you can tell them what you learned at North Texas now, they can implement it.
I learned that I am not an all-nighter person. Back then, I was not an all-nighter. Now it's a little different. Now that I'm a lot older and more life things that I take care of, you kind of have no other choice but to study. Right. But then I utilized my time. If I had 2 hours between class, instead of me going back to my dorm or going to my apartment to chill maybe for an hour and a half or whatever before getting back on campus for class, I'd go to a computer lab, or I'd go to the library and pull out my laptop and work on stuff. For me, I noticed that those little increments of time helped me a lot. And I figured out that I was not an all-nighter person. So I was able to get through my undergrad without pulling all-nighters. And I'm so glad.
And
So
I want to expound on that point a little bit too, because that's another great point in that you knew who you were. You knew that studying all night, that's not for me. Some
mm-hmm.
people, that might be what they do in order to
Yeah.
get through, but you recognize that that's for you. And so this is not just for academics, it's not just for athletics, but in whoever's listening in your whole life, understand what you are and how you operate in order to maximize the gifts that you have. And so you
Yes.
might be good at academics, but if you are putting all nighters, then that's not who you are. You're not going to get the results that you want.
You're not realizing your full potential.
Mm-hmm.
Like you may get results like, okay, yeah, I made it through, I made a good grade, but did you retain anything? Especially
Mm-hmm.
when you get to those classes that are a part of your major. For me, retention was a really big deal.
Right.
Also in that, even in those little increment hours that I had, I would use it to make study cards. For me, writing is so big.
Okay.
That's writing,
Writing in what way?
like taking notes.
Okay.
So if I have to read sections of a textbook, I am taking notes as I see fit. It helps me. And then, once you have that test in the class, you kind of realize, okay, I need to tweak my notes to make it a little more detailed, or maybe I'm too detailed right now and I'm spending too much time. I can scale it back. But me writing things down is a big number one.
I like that. I like that. So we talked about athletics, talked about academics. So tell me about the rest of your college experience. So socially, maybe with friends,
Mm-hmm.
like internships, you did any of that, volunteering. Just tell me about your experience and what you kind of learned and what molded you into the woman you are today.
Yeah. When I got to junior college,
Sorry, just in high school. Sorry.
just in high school,
Yeah, the high school portion. Yeah, we're gonna go to the junior college a little bit, but just high
gotcha.
school.
So my social life in high school was fine.
Mm-hmm.
It was fine. Of course, you have to deal with all the high school dramas that every high schooler has to deal with, but I was grateful that I had a team of friends because I don't know, it's something different when you actually like your teammates and you actually like to be around them and they're cool people and things like that. So we could not only were traveling, doing practice and going to games and stuff, we hung out like during school hours. We, I mean, don't do this either, but we would sneak off campus for lunch and guess who I was with? Guess whose trunk I was in? Like trying to sneak off campus for lunch. Like it's times like those, like, so the social part was great.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other aspect of it?
Any other aspects that you have?
Like extracurricular.
Mm-hmm.
So outside of sports, extracurricular activities, I do regret not being a part of other activities in high school.
What would you have done if you can remember?
I think I would have tried harder for National Honor Society.
Okay.
And that I'm pretty sure I had the GPA for it, but you had to go to meetings, you had to commit to volunteer hours. And I think there's another aspect of National Honor Society, but with the volunteer hours and the meetings, I just was like, I got practice.
Mm-hmm.
I got a game.
Yeah, I was the same way.
Like,
I was the exact same way. Yeah.
So I didn't do that much. And also, I'm trying to think of what other organizations were even there in high school. That's the thing. I don't even know what was available.
So what would you tell the high school student athletes now? Would you tell them to look into those and just see what's available?
Yes. Do some research. If you know what you're interested in, especially, and you feel like you have the time that won't completely stress you out from being a high school student, if it's not available, get with your favorite teacher. Maybe they could be the faculty sponsor for it, or, something like that. I wish I would have taken that part more seriously, because I probably would have started something that had to do with physical therapy sooner, so that I could realize sooner that physical therapy was not the career I really wanted to do.
Got you. Yeah.
Because for a very long time, I've always said, like, yes, I'm going to school to be a physical therapist. And it wasn't until I last semester of my undergrad at UNT, I realized this ain't for me. It was tough. I still got the degree. I was too far to turn back, but
yeah.
Yeah, so I would encourage athletes to, if you know, it's okay if you don't, but if you know, start now. And then if you know of other organizations on campus that maybe your friends are going to, or you may think you like, try it out. I mean, you don't have to fully commit yourself if you know it's not for you, but you should at least try. So.
And that's so important because people think that school is just school. What it is, you go to school, take your multiple choice test, you do your little essays, turn in your homework, and that's it. But no, school is in place to set you up for the future. Organizations are in place. The engineering organization is to set you up with other engineers and to be around other engineers. Business schools the same way. And so don't look at school as just something you have to do. Right. There are other infrastructures in place that will support you and get you to where you ultimately want to be. So yeah, Lexi, that's super. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was going to say that's something I wish I would have realized a lot sooner. I think I didn't fully understand that concept until I got into my master's program. Mm-hmm. That's a master's program, you know, like
listen to the student athletes. Listen to what she's saying. So a couple more high school questions. When you were in high school, did you ever have a dream or goal of playing Division I or college sports?
Starting out in high school, I played it because it was competitive. I liked it. It was fun. I think the end of my junior year was a pivotal point for me, where that's when I personally realized, like, okay, I am great at this. I think I was working the end of my freshman year, and I was like, I'm working, I have some funds, I need to funnel my funds towards like outside resources to help me train. A piece of me feels like it was too late for me to try to go for like D1 4-year college type athlete. But I'm grateful I figured it out, and I still funneled what resources I did have into training. So starting the first 3 years of playing volleyball in high school, I played it because I liked it. Actually, my junior year, I halfway liked it. I got to a point where I was like, I'm about to quit.
Wow. Why is that? If you don't mind me asking, why'd you say that?
I don't mind at all. So my junior year, like many student athletes go through, you're eligible for JV, you're eligible for varsity, but you're upperclassman. It's you're supposed to be on varsity. That's the thing. And I went through, the 2-a-day and the tryouts and made varsity team. Okay, great. But there were seniors on the team and people who were taller than me. So I knew like I wasn't starting. But as a few practices went on, I talked, the head coach pulled me to the side and she's like, you know what? I think what I'm going to do is for the first part of the season, you can play for JV because you're eligible for both as long as you don't play on both teams in the same week. You can play on either team.
Right. So
I remember at first, I was like, oh, no, so I suck.
But that's real though.
Yes.
Somebody needs to hear this right now.
Yes. I thought that like, dang, I am trash. Like I'm not a starter, but I'm not even on the bench of varsity anymore.
That's real. That's real. I understand.
When I started playing like JV games, when I tell you I was killing them. Those were some of my favorite plays because being on JV, like I was varsity trained because I still practice with varsity. So I was varsity trained, athletic, fast twitch muscles, things like that. And you gave me the good JV setter on the team. We run in all the trick plays that we would normally do in practice. So it was so much fun playing on JV. Because I got to do that. I got to run my slides, my threes, hitters crossing at the front. You thought I was about to jump. Damn. You got to do all of that and practice it and hone that skill. So it was so much fun playing on JV. And this is what happened. One of the starters, the middle blocker starters, who was senior, tore her ACL.
Wow.
Middle of the season. So guess what that means?
You got to move right back up.
I'm moving right back up. And not only am I moving up, I'm a starter.
Mm.
Man, would I tell you, going from JV, like less pressure, I'm here to have fun. Like I'm great. Like I knew it. I was confident, to permanently being forced
Right.
to be on varsity. It was, you would think I was trash because confidence wasn't there. I was taking up space on the court. Like when I got on the court, it was such a hard pill to swallow. When I got on the court, what was I doing? Was I drawing out blockers? Was I getting kills? Was I blocking the ball? My stats were minimal. It almost felt like I was just a body to make sure they had enough players. That's
wow.
Yeah. So my junior year, going from that to that type of pressure, and then realizing like, man, like I'm not hitting well. I'm nervous all the time. I don't want to make a mistake. Playing against, because other varsity teams playing against 6-footers, middle blockers, and here I am, little old 5'6", across the net. I had no confidence in doing that, and I was gonna quit.
You actually going to answer my next question. So your lowest point wasn't being moved down. Your lowest point was when you got moved up and you realized like, whoa, this is different.
Yep. And I had the mindset at first that moving down was just the most terrible thing. It was not.
Wow.
Experiencing moving down and having that much fun on the court all the time and winning. Not only I'm having fun, but I am we're winning.
Yeah, that's a great feeling.
Oh, it's so good. And then to go up on varsity, and I didn't care if we won or if we lost, because I wasn't contributing. My stats weren't, was I getting any touches on blocks? No. And remember I told you, like, I jumped significantly higher than a lot of people. There's no reason why I should not be. The confidence was not there, and it definitely affected my ability, and it was so low.
But okay, I'm glad that there's another side to the story. You overcame that.
Yes.
When and how?
It was the last few games of like the district season, so the stuff that counts. We made it to the playoffs. I was contributing more on the court. We made it to the playoffs. And we played our first round of the playoffs my junior year. We played some Amazons.
As in, just for those who don't know, tall, very tall. Okay.
Why is the setter 6 foot?
Wow. And setters, for those who don't know, they're usually like 5'1", 5'2".
They can be any size, but they're usually the ones like, putting up the ball in the air for the hitter to smack it down.
Right.
The setter is 6 foot. Wow. The setter, the way they had their play set up, the setter, certain times when she was on the court, she could also be a hitter.
So you don't know what's going on. You don't know.
So not only are you a 6 foot setter, I also don't know at certain points where you're on, like when she was on the court, I didn't know, like, okay, are you about to set the ball because you can, or are you about to smack the ball because you also can?
Wow.
Oh, but I contributed so much that night against those big old Amazon. I'm talking, even the libero was I think she was maybe an inch or two taller than I was. And this is the back row person. This is the one who side, passing the balls, digging them up, all of that. Even taller than I was. But I still contributed. I got so many touches, like block touches. I don't know if I had many like actual blocks, but I got so many touches where I was able to slow down the ball or deflect the ball and allow our back row people to like have a chance to pass it, set it up, get some kills in.
Right.
I think that was a pivotal point. I realized like, okay, while I'm not getting actual blocks, I am touching this ball and I am a big factor in our ability to set something up and make a play.
Yes.
Also, when the ball, we're making a play and the ball is set, I understood that I was not going to get set a lot. I mean, naturally, I'm 5'6". I mean, yes, I can jump, but think about it. If the setter is 6 foot, you can imagine the middle blocker being 6'3", 6'4".
Right. Right.
So I wasn't getting set a lot, but you know what I did? I sold it. I did my approaches full on. I'm jumping all in effort, jumping as high as I can. Like I'm about to get set the ball, draw in that blocker, setter shoots it out to another hitter, smack it down, bam, that's a play. Now I'm not the one who smacked the ball down, but I know I drew that 6'4" blocker right here because she thought I was about to try to get it.
Right.
I drew her here, opened up a whole entire area of the court. I realized like, oh, there's more to than just stats.
Ooh.
I was doing so much more than stats that night.
So you're saying a lot. You're saying a lot right now. You're saying a lot of good stuff. So the principle was you found a way that you could contribute. You might not have contributed the same way that you did on JV, but you found a way to be productive and to ultimately help your team win. And also for yourself.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
We lost.
Oh, well, okay.
But it was
you tried to help your team win.
Yes. We didn't lose. It wasn't a sweep like we were projected to do though.
Okay.
But
yes, thank you. I appreciate the honesty. I like that. But you found, like you said, okay, I might not be able to block this ball, but I can get a tip. I can slow it down for my teammates. So that was a small win that you had that helped you build that confidence. So anyone who's struggling, anyone who might be making a big leap from freshman team up, from 8th grade to freshman team or to varsity, find a way to contribute and get a small win. Find one thing you can get better at and move on from there.
Yes.
Man, so many nuggets. Many nuggets.
I didn't realize those were nuggets until you summarized it. I was like, oh, that's good.
No, that was good. So let's transition.
Yeah.
Why did you choose Richland? First of all, let's go here.
Okay.
What options did you have of playing collegiately out of high school?
Okay, so I did not have any D1 options. Let me just say that. I went and tried out for D1 junior colleges.
Okay.
I tried out for those, and even
help us with what D1 junior colleges are.
So D1 junior colleges are like the the SMUs of 2-year colleges. Like you go there, you can get a full ride scholarship, like full entire everything paid for top to bottom at those junior colleges. Mm-hmm. I tried out for some of the teams. Some tryouts were better than the others, but some other tryouts, like I did really well and was like invited to be on the team, but it wasn't a scholarship offer. And I mean, now that I think about it, I was probably being like too humble or not being confident in myself, but I would look at other people who were there and be like, okay, if I were to join this team, like if I were to make this team, what are my chances of playing? Because I wanted to play. Like I didn't want to just go to the next level to practice. That was big for me personally. So I was okay with not, no D1 4-year colleges. I knew that. I was okay with that.
Why were you okay? Like, how did you come to grips with that? Like, you didn't feel like you missed out at all?
I'm trying to think. That's a good question. How, did I really come to grips that, okay, I may not be the D1 4-year college athlete. I think when I said after my junior year, I started funneling my own resources. I started paying for club and outside clinics and things like that. Mm-hmm. And there were ladies my age who were committed to 4-year D1 colleges. I know I'm a great athlete, but I knew that there was something different. They had also played club and things like that since they were like 8. They've also gone to all the workshops and all the things and had mentors and things like that all the way from their childhood to now.
Got you.
And I could tell that there was a difference. I could have pushed myself and things like that, but I was like, it is something different. I am an athlete. I know that, but there's something different about the skill there. I didn't have as long of an opportunity to perfect my skill like they did.
Right.
So I think that's what really helped me be like, I'm okay with that.
Got you.
I accept that. I'm not mad at it. It's cool. The next step were like D2 colleges and D3. I don't think I got many looks from D2 colleges, or I looked at D2 colleges. I don't think I did that. But D3 4-year colleges I looked at, got some looks from. The only deal is with D3 4-year colleges, like they don't pay.
Right.
And I wasn't in a position to go to a 4-year right off the back and pay out of pocket at the same time. I just wasn't in that position, or else I would have gone, but wasn't in that position. Now with Richland, it is a D3 junior college.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't even know if I'm supposed to say this. I don't know what that coach did, but some type of way, I didn't pay for everything.
Okay, well, we'll keep that on the podcast. Keep going.
I don't know. All that to say is I chose Richland because it was financial benefits. I knew I would play. I really liked that it was in Dallas. I wasn't too far from home. I had family members up here, but I could also travel back to Tyler, 2-hour drive when I needed to. Yeah, that was a big one.
So you said a lot again because you were realistic. You were realistic about where you saw your skill set was. You did not. You were smart financially. So I feel like a lot of times people, when they have to choose between walking on to like a big school or getting financially stable at a smaller school, they always choose well, not always. A lot of times they choose a big school. But they don't realize that by choosing a big school, first of all, like you said, you're not going to play most of the time. I have seen walk-ons come on and play.
Very true. Very true.
But very, very few actually play, and you're going to be in a mound of debt if you don't have a lot of academic help. You don't have a lot of academic scholarships. Yep. So anybody listening, just be thinking about some of the things that Lexi was saying when she was talking about her transition, being close to home, because all these things matter. Because you don't want to go somewhere and then transfer. You don't want to go somewhere and not like it. Like you need to know your priorities and what you actually want to do as you're transitioning to school.
I have encountered quite a few athletes, but they were football players, if I'm not mistaken. Football players, not even volleyball players, but I encountered quite a few athletes. And I'm always hesitant to share my experience or share my advice, because a lot of times that could be taken as, well, you don't believe in me, or you don't think I can do it, or I know I'm good enough if I work hard. And like, yes, I know, but I have seen athletes come out of high school, make those types of decisions, I'm gonna walk on here, and then they go through one football season, that's one academic semester, and you're back home. Or you're transferring to a junior college.
Right.
So I'm always hesitant to share. Like, this podcast is the space for me to share, because that's the whole point. But I'm always hesitant to offer that to people outside of like something like this, because I never want to come off as that I don't believe in you, or I don't think you can do it, or that you don't have the right amount of skill, because hard work, it can cover a lot of things. I worked my butt off. So I'm not mad at myself for recognizing that. I just didn't have the time to hone that skill to get to the level where they were. Yeah. I had to accept it. I didn't harp on it. I didn't be like, oh, woe is me. I wish we had more money. And no, it was, I was okay with it. I worked to even get to that point. I gave myself the funds. I know my parents wanted to, and they supported me so much morally and there, but financially we just couldn't.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So I'm glad I'm able to say that here and not feel bad about it or not think that you can't do it or anything like that. This is just my experience.
Yeah, exactly. I
It's
love it.
something to think about.
And there's a lot more people's experience than what they realize. Like
Exactly.
there's so
Not
many
enough
more
people
people's
talk
experience.
about it, I feel like.
Yeah. That's really good. So what was your experience like? Let's talk about academically first at Richland.
Mhm.
How was your shift? What was the biggest thing you learned from Legacy High School to Richland?
The biggest thing I learned is these professors, they gonna get paid regardless. If you come to class or if you don't,
Ah,
they are
there
gonna
we
get
go.
paid. If you get it and you decide not to ask questions, or if you do ask, they're gonna get paid. I'm sure, I know for a fact, many professors, they want you to get it, they want you to understand, but they don't know what you don't say. They're still gonna get paid.
Right.
So it takes a lot of self-discipline to, because it's raining and it's cold outside. I still got to get out this bed and go to class.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes. You are preaching right now.
Because there have been a few times where I'm like, you know what, the weather ain't right. I'm sorry. I'll text somebody in the class, get some notes or something, and I'm gonna stay home. But it's self-discipline. I know I heard it a lot in high school where the teachers are like, well, in college, you know, you can never get away with this. A lot of the stuff they say you can't get away with, you can, because they gonna get paid regardless. You just not gonna pass.
Exactly. That's why you're not getting away with it, because you're not gonna get what you you're not gonna get what you
Exactly.
want.
Exactly. You're not gonna pass, sir or ma'am. So I mean, so utilize yourself, like tap into it early, tap into it now. And also when you're in class, one thing I learned, it took me a while, speak up. I I am some people call me nosy. I call it inquisitive. That applies academically. If I don't get it, or if I lost how you got to the point you got, now I'm gonna ask.
Right.
And more often than not, there are other people in class that are like, "Oh yeah, that's a good question. I have that."
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna say anything until I said, you know, like, so be that person. Ask, especially if you're paying for something out, especially even if you're not paying, but especially if you're paying for it out of pocket.
That's your education.
Yes. Yes. So
Love it.
that was some things I learned.
What did you learn? So, what was your experience like? Athletically, in terms of being a student athlete.
Oh, so athletically, practice was the same, but it was different.
Okay.
Um, excuse me. Even though it was a D3 junior college, it was serious. Like I took high school practices seriously, but it was serious a lot of the times. You came in, you put on your shoes, and that's another thing. That's another self-discipline thing. You're responsible for yourself. You can no longer rely, like, you know, you may not drive in high school, which I didn't. So I had to rely on, like, well, I got to catch a ride with this friend, or maybe my mom can take me, things like that. In college, unless you talk to the coach and the coach knows your situation, she gives you a time to be on the court and ready to run, like to warm up and run and stuff like that.
Right.
Whatever time you get to the gym to get ready to do that is on you.
Exactly.
But you better be on this court at 3:22. 3:22, coach? Yes. I said 3:22. We are starting our warm-ups.
Right.
That was, so athletically, self-discipline comes into play there. I had to be on top of getting to the gym on time, putting on all of my shoes, knee pads, ankle braces, like getting stuff wrapped if I needed to. That was up to me. I couldn't do that during practice time like you can in high school. If I needed some type of extra rehab on a joint or something, that was up to me to set that up earlier. It was not the coach's responsibility. It was not practice time to do that. So that was a big one. And then I had a set of friends, which was nice going into junior college, a brand new place.
Like y'all went to the same, y'all all went to Richland? Is that
No,
what
I
you're
mean
saying?
so volleyball season starts before school starts.
Oh, right. Got you.
So by the time school started, you had friends,
Mm-hmm.
you had a social life and things like that because you had your teammates. And for the most part, mostly everybody on the team, like I got along just fine with, liked very well, and could hang out with outside of that. So it's one thing, like it's really big to like your teammates. Don't force it, but to me, it was a huge difference in how y'all played on the court, whether or not y'all liked each other, if y'all meshed well, how like y'all got over mistakes and stuff in practice or on the court. Like, for instance, there was a time where I think it was after a game. We had a terrible game, and the coach was like, that was just too bad to not run for your mistakes, like right here, right now, after this game.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, we didn't pack up our stuff. We sat at that gym and did some running and did some other drills and stuff that she felt like this is what you were supposed to do in the game and stuff like that. And this one girl just had the nastiest attitude. Now, ma'am, you didn't even play in the game. What you got this attitude for?
Right.
But I think she had the attitude because she didn't play in the game and she had to so I think that's where her source of attitude came from. But I was like, now we usually pretty good with our team cohesiveness now. But then I wasn't the first to notice. And then other people, if they notice something, they gonna say it. And it just kind of boiled into not a spat, but it was like, well, if you do this, and well, I'm not doing no more running. We're like,
Wow.
bro, if you don't run, we gotta run more. Can you please get on this line?
How did you overcome that?
It was a lot of begging. Some people begged. Some people had an attitude. My looks, I was like, and I was considered one of the leaders on the team, but I couldn't say anything because I was gonna pop off. I think we got over it. The coach finally realized, like, nah, this is a toxic person right now. Maybe she wasn't toxic all the time, but a lot of the times she was, and she was being so toxic at that moment till she had to be like, you know what? Let me pull you to the side. Let's have a conversation. Everybody else go home and we'll retackle this in the morning at practice. Right. So I don't know if we truly got over it. It's one of those things.
Yeah. There were a couple of things you talked about before that we can touch on briefly. You talked about the seriousness, and that's what shocked me when I came to SMU. I'm like, this is not high school pep rally Friday game at the at the game. My dad over in the state. No, this is like serious business. This is for real, and that shocked me. I'm like, because I remember in practice. I had a bad practice that day, and we were in film. And my coach said, Jeremiah, do you realize that on Friday, you're going to be playing on ESPN in front of a nationally televised audience against Texas Tech? I was like, oh, I never thought about it that way before. I don't want we have to look at crazy, but the seriousness is real.
Yes.
And no matter what level, like you just said,
no matter what level.
And that seriousness got. And then you said the other one you talked about was preparation, and people don't realize how much preparation goes into before practice. Mm-hmm. Like your ankles taped. You got to make sure. Like we had an hour and a half to get to the stadium to eat, get taped up for practice, put all of our equipment on, be outside for pre warm up. So it's like it's so much stuff you have to get done before, and please don't come late, please.
No. Don't. Not only is it bad for the person coming late because you're usually like punished in some type of way, but many times the whole team got to do it with you.
Yes. So please listen to what we're saying and start preparing now, and don't wait.
Don't.
I want to ask you this question. So you are the first Black woman I've actually had on the podcast. And so I am interested to see what it was like for you to be a Black student athlete and a Black woman who is a student athlete as well. So you can talk about in high school or college, just your whole experience.
So being a Black student athlete in high school, I think my approach to being a Black student athlete in high school was kind of my approach of being a Black student at that high school. Just get in and get out. I'm not doing too much to be noticed, too much to be seen. But when it came to being like on the court with my people, I mean, you kind of forget any and every type of social construct, any and every type of anything when you're on the court, as it should be. Like you should have that level of trust with your fellow teammates, like especially on the field, because if I don't trust you there, the chemistry is going to be off. And when the chemistry off, the mistakes start happening, and it's just a whole ordeal. So being a Black student athlete, I'm not sure if I've thought about that enough to know that it was different than being a student athlete with a close team. So when it got to college, it was kind of the same way. There were quite a few Black student athletes in college and on my volleyball team too. So it just kind of felt like this is normal. Like this is us.
Right.
So I don't know. You may have to, I don't know, I may have to think about that some more.
Okay.
But I'm not sure.
Because I agree with you actually that when I'm a part of my team, I don't think about color in any sort of way at all. And I think that's the beauty of sports, and that typically it is that way. And I think it's because you take time to be around and let me say this, like there are some instances where you might have some teammates that might say some off the wall comments. I probably have said some off the wall comments before, but for the most part, you're a team, and so you kind of know each other well, and you spend a lot of time with each other, and you give a little bit more grace when you spend more time with the person.
Right. And when you have that relationship, even if somebody says something off the wall and maybe they don't realize it was off the wall, you could explain it to them, be like, no.
Exactly.
Don't do that. Say it again. We're gonna put this behind us, but don't do that. Okay.
Exactly.
And the person who may have said something off the wall, like because they trust you and they're on the team and stuff, they'll take your word for it.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, well, okay, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't know, and put it behind you. Let's not do, So.
Right. It's usually just one of those. Exactly. Usually the conversation goes that well, and it's like, okay, well, we're good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to get that perspective from you. So transitioning back to your time at Richland. So you played your freshman year. Did you play your sophomore year as well?
Yes.
So you played your sophomore year, and this is a couple weeks ago. Did you have any other opportunities after those last 2 years? So she said a 2-year junior college. So you had 2 years to play. And then after you got your associates, you had to move on and go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have another opportunity to at least play volleyball somewhere else?
Yes. I was presented the opportunity. Somebody had reached out to my coach. Well, actually, I think several people reached out to my coach. But after the first, somebody reached out to my coach about it, and she pulled me to the office and was kind of talking to me about it. And I was like, to be honest, coach, nah. The opportunity was there. My experience was great, but my body hurt all the time. I wish I would have done more to take care of my injuries during that time. So by the time I got to that point, I was hurting, and I was like, I'm too young, and I didn't want to be coached anymore at the same time, going through all this bodily pain. And so yes, I had the opportunity, but I turned it down quickly.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, do you feel like you missed it? Or do you ever regret making that decision?
I wouldn't say regret.
Okay.
But I knew that opportunity cost. Mm-hmm. You decide to go with one option, but what does that cost you over here? I knew that there was an opportunity cost when I was at UNT, being a student only. And in the rec center, they had, I think Tuesdays and Thursdays, they were volleyball nights. I was like, I might as well go to volleyball night and play with other people who probably used to play. I went to that, you know, got some rust off and things like that. And I was like, oh, I miss it. Like the other people who were there who were also really good and for whatever reason weren't playing or decided not to play, they were on a club team. So I think maybe all universities have it, but I know D1 universities have it where they have collegiate student athletes who compete in the conference. And then they have like club teams where you still compete against other colleges, but you compete against their club team and it's not NCAA official.
Right.
But it's another type of official because they still have to regulate, you know, some of those policies.
Mm-hmm.
So I was approached to be like, hey, like we're having a club team practice soon. You should come. We really like the way you're playing. And I was like, like it was nice to be reminded that, whoa, like I had it. Like this is what I used to do all the time. And I used to get complimented on it. And it was nice. I was like, okay, I'll come.
Right.
I went to that club team practice and about halfway through the practice, my knee just gave out. So yes, when I started that, like playing rec sports and then I got invited to do club team practice and stuff like that, I realized like, oh, this is what I was missing. Maybe I should have went to such and such, or should have tried out other places, or should have just tried to do it to play at the next level after junior college. But when my knee gave out, oh, this is why. This is why I did.
You quickly reminded.
Oh, my body was like, and it was weird because at club team practice, ain't no trainers.
Right, exactly. It's just you. Right.
I had to take myself off the court and be like, you know what, guys, I'm gonna go home to I had an apartment. I had to wobble myself, my car, drive home, wobble myself up the stairs to my apartment, take it upon myself to try to get some ice, take some ibuprofen, because there were no trainer. Like,
no trainer.
Then the next day at class, I'm all sore. My knee is swollen. I got to try to get around campus. But whenever you're under a trainer, you know, they can give you braces or
exactly.
No, ain't none of that. I had to just wobble on, try not to change my gait, you know, too much until it kind of got better. And I was like, this is why.
Got you.
Yeah.
So if there was a student athlete, either in high school, so let's say there's a high school student athlete who has some opportunities to play in college, but doesn't really know which option to pick, or someone like in your shoes that went to a 2-year university, college, and had an opportunity and they kind of decided they want to do it. What kind of advice would you give them? What would you have them think about as they're trying to mold that decision?
I would have them think about their competitive level and how much time they want to play. Do they want to be on a team that's a winning team, but you can kind of realize that other people's skills are maybe a little more crafted than yours, and you may not play or may not play often, which is cool too. You want to go for that type of experience, the practice experience and things like that. Think about that. You may like that and be around other players, and you may get to those other players who are more crafted than you, and then bam, like you're at their level. That's an option. Another option is finances. It sucks to think about a lot of the times because you can kind of get down in the dumps if you don't come from much, but it has to be talked about. It has to be thought about. Scholarships outside of sports. See if you qualify for those. Need-based scholarships or even academic-based scholarships. Also, financial aid is a thing. Get started on that early. Think about that. And also, I just brought up like the injuries and things like that. I dealt with injuries in high school, and I've always had like a knee problem since like middle school. I've always had issues with my knee. Think about how your injuries are right now and what you can do to really get those injuries better. And then think about what the colleges have available to help you go through that. Because one thing at Richland, because it was a conference, like a Dallas conference, we shared athletic trainers. We didn't have a set athletic trainer sitting at Richland all day, every day, like you would at high school or would at other, like, I don't know if it was just that conference thing or if that was like all D3 colleges. I don't know. But think about that. And also because of that, they also didn't have like team doctors. They just had an agreement set up with a certain hospital and doctor's office, but it was on you to take yourself there, to make the appointment, to get stuff looked at, and then to meet with the athletic trainer, try to come up with a plan of action. And it's, I don't know, just, it's something that I didn't think about. And I kind of wish I would have thought a little bit more like what that looks like. Maybe I would have gotten a little better care, but.
Wow, I've never thought about it from that perspective before with the athletic trainer piece. That is definitely something that we also be thinking about, because that is major. Like if you can't get the care that you need, especially if you know you're injured, because unfortunately some people are just more injury prone than others.
Yes.
And if you're one of those people, then you need the care. Yes. So, oh man, that's really good insight. So transitioning from Richland to North Texas. Mm-hmm. So you're in North Texas now. You kind of know this a little bit, but you're not a student athlete anymore.
Right.
First time since 7th grade that you don't have practices afterwards, and that you're just going to school. If you want to go work out, that's great. If you want to go to club practice, that's great.
Right.
And so what was the biggest challenge or change for you mentally from being a student athlete to everyone looks at me like I'm on the team, I'm just a regular student?
So the biggest transition for me was, it wasn't even nobody looks at me as an athlete anymore. It was, I have to discipline myself to get myself in shape. To tell myself that this is what I want to do. I have to go to the gym myself. I have to come up with my own workout plans. Because, and when you're an athlete in high school and in college, many times the coaches and the strength trainers got all that for you. And they give you the circuit, you're going to do this, and you can up the weight or up the reps if you want, but these are the exercises you're doing. Mm-hmm. Have that available. So it was easy for me to get lazy in that aspect. Like, I would do school and I'd be like, oh, I could go work out, or I could go to the cafeteria.
That is a great option. That is a great option.
And so then after the cafeteria, you could be like, well, I still have time to go work out, or I could go take a nap. Mm-hmm. That was probably the toughest, is like discipline myself that my body's used to working out, like being in shape and things like that, and then slowly getting out of shape. And then I realized, oh no, I am out of shape. Is this what being out of shape feels like? It was like, I've been in shape my whole life. Right. So it was weird, kind of like harping on that, and then realizing like, okay, I'm out of shape. It's a hard pill to swallow. You're not in your glory days anymore, Alexis. You need to take yourself to the gym. You need to tell yourself to go do some cardio on top of your gym time. I can't just go lift these weights and barely sweat and think I'm about to stay fit.
I went through the same process you went through.
Yeah, like I need to like get my heart rate up, keep my heart rate up. College practices, that's another thing. In high school, I think there were like UIL rules as to how long you could practice.
Yes.
Coach want to keep us here 4 hours. We're here 4 hours.
Oh, y'all didn't have any like rules?
Not to my knowledge.
Oh, well, we had rules. We had them in place. They were there. So I'm gonna leave it at that. There were rules in place.
Right. So my body was used to having an increased or an intense heart rate for 2-3 hours, 4 hours at a time. Mm-hmm. And then transitioning to going to UNT, I didn't have that. I didn't know how to achieve it either.
Got you.
So I think that was a really big one. Of course, academically, but I figured out quickly academically what I liked and didn't like.
That's my next question. Go into that a little bit more.
Yeah. when I first got on UNT's campus, I didn't have a job just yet. I'm used to working while doing stuff. So I didn't have a job just yet. And I realized that I had that incremental periods.
Mm-hmm.
So I think by the second or third week of school, I started going to the computer labs. I started doing libraries, or I started going to professors' office hours. Because when you get in the big classes,
What was
so
your biggest one, if you can remember?
chemistry,
How many people?
over 300.
Oh,
They put us in this huge auditorium.
oh, 300. I think my most was like 150.
Mm-mm. At Richland, I think I had a class that was almost 100, and it was like a history class, a core class.
Right.
When I got to UNT, a much bigger school, over 300 class size. That's another thing. From JUCO to regular four-year college, these class sizes are huge. And I thought in JUCO, the professors knew they were going to get paid. Oh, at UNT,
They definitely getting paid.
they said, we don't take attendance. It's 300 of y'all. You come if you come, you don't, you don't.
Right.
So I would go to classes and I would be so lost, but I would have to take it upon myself to go to office hours, to talk to the TAs or talk to the professor themselves, get extra help. So I really learned that filling my time in between stuff was what worked best for me.
Yeah.
So when I was able to find a job, I was able to set my job up for, a large period of time, but later in the day, because during my class times days, I was still studying.
Mm-hmm.
So the job didn't affect me too adversely.
And you talked about earlier that initially you want to go into physical therapy. So was your bachelor's in kinesiology?
Yes. I got a bachelor's of science in kinesiology. Like I said, knew for a very long time that physical therapy is for me. I have had a lot of injuries. I like what athletic trainers do. I like what the physical therapist did that I did see. I liked it. And I wanted to be around other athletes, like younger athletes.
Right.
Like I wanted to help them go from bad to great, like boost their confidence and things like that. So I thought, I got to my senior year, so my last year at UNT, and I was joining organizations like that were physical therapy related, and did some hours and internships and some tours. And so I was putting in that work to find out more about the field. And I just wish I would have done it sooner. Because when I put in that work to find out a lot more about the field, I realized this isn't what I thought. And I don't think this is the right career for me. But I'm in my last year.
Right. So you're at this moment in your last year. And so what happens? Like, what did you do after that?
I took a long, deep breath to think about it. And I'm pretty sure I talked to my dad about it too. My dad was very money oriented. He wanted me to make always the financially smart decisions. Now that I'm grown, like at first I'd be like, but I want to do this,
Right.
but we got student loans for that. Like I'm good. I'm gonna live in an apartment. Like
Yeah, right.
Right. So things like that. Now that I'm grown, I get it. So I remember talking to him about it, and he's like, now Lexi, you're in your last year, you have loans out, you're also on like some grants and scholarships and stuff, but you do have loans out. I don't think you should take out more loans to do an extra year and a half at UNT to change your major, to go through those major courses. And even then, I didn't even know what I would change my major to. So it was financially smarter for me to stick it out. I made good grades because I still enjoyed it academically. So I made the grades. The concentration classes, the 4,000 level classes were, they were okay. And I stuck it out.
And then after you graduated, what'd you do after you graduated?
I found a job. After I graduated, I knew, so hold on, let me pause. Because because it was my senior year, I realized physical therapy isn't it. So that's when I started researching other careers. I started researching other degrees, like graduate degrees. Like, okay, so I got this kinesiology degree. I'm going to finish it out. But to get in a field where I want to be, I need some type of background or training or something in that. And I started researching business schools. I thought that I would settle, and to me it was settling. I was like, okay, so I have this kinesiology degree. I could go get into an athletic training program. You know, it's not as much as physical therapy, but I already got the background. I'm already good at the classes. I already know. I might as well just do that. And it didn't pan out. But I researched it. It didn't pan out, and I'm glad it didn't. But I researched business schools. I researched like what it takes to get in the business schools, like what money was available. Did I have to take GRE exams or GMAT exams and things like that? So I knew that I was going to graduate school before I graduated with my kinesiology bachelor's. But after I graduated with that, I knew I couldn't just flat out afford graduate school. So I got a job, a full-time job at UNT, and one of their biggest benefits is paying for any classes you decide to take there. I think it's 75% covered by faculty and staff scholarship.
That's good.
So I got into an entry-level position. It wasn't much, but it was the most money I'd ever made.
Yeah.
And the benefits, I immediately got on like state benefits, didn't realize like how big of a deal that was until now. Vision, dental, and then this scholarship. So I was like, okay, if I can get a job at UNT's campus, like I start work there, kind of get acclimated to working a full-time job.
Right.
From being a student to a adult, get acclimated, apply, do all that. And so that's what I did after my bachelor's. And that's what led me to my master's degree now.
Let's not skip over the principle. The principle was she realized that what she was doing was not what she ultimately wanted to do. So she did not alter the whole course of her life to make, because a lot of times there's a thing called overcorrection. And so like imagine us driving a car, and so we see something in the street and like we swerve over.
Right.
And then we try to swerve over real quick, and that's because we overcorrect and go into the different lane. No. It causes a lot more damage.
Right.
What we should do, you said you took a deep breath. So important. You took a deep breath and you realized, okay, this is not what I want. What can I do? We always do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do.
Yes.
And so you realize, okay, if I get this job, this can give me this business degree that I actually want. I want this. I want what's after this business degree.
Right.
So you went through the process and you're like, okay, if I do this now for 2, 3, however many years, this can help me in the future with what I ultimately want to do.
Yes.
Which gets me to my next question. What do you want to do? What is your ultimate vision and dream that you want to do?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked, because sometimes I feel like it changes every day.
Which is normal. It changes for me as well. That is so normal.
But the overall gist of it is I am interested in human resources. So I am interested in recruiting. I'm interested in benefits. I'm interested in training, employee development. I'm interested in organizational development. I'm interested in the investigation things. Just overall, I am interested in that. I know I'm a people person, and I feel like being in HR allows me the opportunity to connect with other employees and to help them. So it's further than me wanting to just be in an office processing benefits or processing payroll or something like that. Like, no, I want to be in a leadership position where I am implementing strategic changes that will further help build this company up, because the number one resource a company has is their employees. It's not capital. It's not your assets. It's your employees. And if your company culture and your employees aren't in line, you're going to fail. You're going to fail. So that's my biggest thing. It took me a while to really realize that, okay, I like this. I want to study this a little more. I want to get into that field, work my way up, get under some people who are already there. Like, it took me a while to get there, but that's what I want to do.
And the thing is, like, you're there. So you're about to be 26 in a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You're about to be 26, and because you put yourself in a position to get further education and to be like, okay, I don't want to do the kinesiology. I want to continue to figure that out. Like, there's people who are 45 and 50 who don't know that.
Right.
Who don't know what they want to do. And you put yourself in that situation. And so, like you've been saying the whole time, all you high school, junior high, high school student athletes, if you just put yourself out there earlier,
yes,
we're trying to tell you, because I didn't realize to my master's degree either what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you can figure it out earlier, you'll be so much further ahead than everyone else. So that's good. And y'all see the passion she had in her voice. Like, this is something that she truly wants to do. So that is great. Lexi, this has definitely been fun. I always end the same way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of putting you on the spot because I don't think I told you this yet, but I'll do this every time. Can you give our student athletes 3 to 5 pieces of advice that they need to be thinking about, pondering, moving into college and or being a college student athlete?
Yeah. Okay. So something specifically for moving into college or getting at the point where maybe you're junior high or high school and you know you want to be a college athlete. I want to encourage you that all you have is all you need. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I didn't have the resources to, hone my craft at 8 years old, like many other of my peers during that time. But when I had the resources, I still found, even though I was late, I was considered like a late bloomer or a late entry person into that type of world, I still did it. So just all you have is what you need. So if all you have is school resources, you have school coaches, you have school workout facilities, utilize it. My senior year, when the volleyball season was over, I knew I was going to Richland, signed, committed, all that stuff. I didn't just chill. I still had seniors have that off period. Mm-hmm. I went with my coach and I was like, hey, is there a way, I know you may not trust me because I'm a student with your key to get into the weight room, but is there a way, like, who's in the weight room at that time? Can you talk to them? Let me work out with them. She talked to the football coach. Mm-hmm. My senior year, I worked out with the football team.
Wow.
I'm outside with sledgehammers and tires.
Right.
Because that's what I had. That was the resource I had. I didn't have the outside athletic facilities. Sure, it would have been great to have that and have a personal trainer. Yes, but I just talked to my volleyball coach. She set something up. I'm working out with football players at this point. Mm-hmm. You can imagine how strong, unintentionally, but how strong I was getting.
Right, exactly.
to prepare myself for college. So that's number one. Number two, just remember that academics truly come first if you want to be a college athlete. Yes, you can go professional. Yes, you don't have to finish, but yes, you do have to be eligible to play. Mm-hmm. Take that seriously, and just take it a little further than being eligible. Take that extra step, that extra initiative. Just take it seriously. Retain, understand. It can get stressful sometimes in high school. You may feel like there's too much on your plate, or I got to go this, I got to do that, and I got prom, and I got to go to the game and hang out with my friend. Like, it may seem stressful and stuff like that, but just take those opportunities to really retain whatever you can in high school from your teachers in class or even from organizations. So that's number two. Number three, take care of your body. I think that's a big one for me. Take care of your body. From injuries all the way till if you decide not to be an athlete anymore, all the way after that point. take care of it. Love your body. Understand it's going to go through changes, weight gains, weight losses, things like that. Things may start creaking because you were an athlete. Like, I
my
know.
knee literally just popped. Just popped when you said that.
This is my right arm's my hitting arm. Oh, I do this now.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing. Like, I can hear all of it. But just take care of your body. Take better care while you're in high school. Listen to your trainers. They're not there to keep you from being from being the greatest athlete on the field or on the court. They're not there to do that.
Right.
I promise you. Just really take care of your body with the injuries and with just being healthy in general.
Mm-hmm.
I think all I got is 3.
Oh, no, that was a good 3. That was a really good 3. Yeah, so Lexi, we definitely appreciate you being on.
Yeah.
Man, your story's going to help so many people. So thank you so much. I hope you have a good day, and we'll see all y'all next week.